Question and answers at number 4, 9th of August 2012. I think most of you have just said FU40 today. So fantastic work on that. More challenges coming over the course of the next 15 days or so prior to the end of the first batch of Fitting 40 challenges. So it's been fantastic, it really has. You've all put in 100% effort, some of you even 110 if possible. So just be very proud of how you're doing. I'm extremely proud of you all. The energy has been superb, and I was going to start this Q&A with an adjustment, but I'll leave that to JWC. I was going to try and get him involved on this Q&A, but next week I'll make sure that Joe is with me for the question and answer session, so you can ask him firsthand just, you know, the technique to get that adjustment just right. Anyway, on with the questions. We've got a lot, so it's going to be a case of finding your questions, and just, you know, if you want to watch it all, fantastic, but it will probably be, yeah, a long one. So without further ado, we'll get started. William Imrie, first of all, interested in your thoughts on cutting edge supplements. Ultimately, I mean, you discuss test boosters. You know, I mean, there's supplements and then there's supplements, so to speak. I personally don't deem protein a supplement. I just, you know, class it as a option, a protein choice. You know, you've got chicken, you've got eggs, you've got turkey, you've got whey, you've got casein, you've got egg protein. So I don't class that as a supplement as such. But when you talk about things like fat burners, test boosters, so that's testosterone boosters and all things like that, I think, I mean, if I'm totally honest, I haven't, you know, really looked at the science behind it, the studies that have been done to either prove or disprove the, you know, the benefits as such. But ultimately, these companies are out to make money, so they're going to market it in a way that obviously builds demand, builds people's interest. And some of which will be beneficial, whereas others, you know, others will be slightly exaggerated, shall we put. So my personal thoughts on cutting edge supplements: if you haven't got sort of the nutrition right, then it kind of, you know, you kind of lose the point a little bit. I think it's important that you get a solid base, firstly with nutrition, then with a good workout plan, and, you know, gauge it. Once, you know, maybe you spend a month doing the, you know, your training, your nutrition, and see how you're doing with your goals. If you need that little bit of something else to, you know, help you or to speed up things, then, you know, you can introduce it. But make sure you do a lot of research. There's so many products on the market. So it's up to you. I personally just don't really use the cutting edge subs, so to speak. I just don't think it's required if your nutrition's in check and things like that. You know, there's a lot of supplements out there that aren't necessary, and it is, you know, ultimately a marketing ploy for the companies to get you spending money. That's what they're in it for, so you can't really blame them. It's just up to the people. And when there's a demand, when there's people that want it, it's pretty much there. So that's my views on that. How's your Y3T experience going? Now, Y3T is like it's a sort of a hypertrophy. It's a muscle building training phase for anyone that's interested. Best bet's to Google it, Y3T, for more information on that. Now, my experience, I've done 3 weeks. A quick mention of it: you have 3-week cycles. The first week you're working in the traditional sort of 8 to 10 repetition hypertrophy mode. The next week, I think it's somewhere between 14, I don't know, I think it's between something like 12 and 16 reps. And then the third week is 16 to 20 reps. The principles of this, like I say, the traditional hypertrophy rep range is the 6 to 12 repetitions. What Neil Yoda, the guy behind it, says is that you're working across different muscle fibres, so you're not neglecting your type A, type 1, type 2, type 2B. So they're saying that, you know, you hit your muscles in different way. Obviously time under tension will slightly differ the more, you know, more reps you do, but obviously with that you've got to lower the lower the weight somewhat. 3 weeks in, not convinced is my total honest opinion. Now I know, and I'm the first to admit, that consistency is key, and things don't happen overnight. I've done it for 3 weeks. They suggest 9-week cycle, so that obviously allows you 3 lots of the 8 to 10, 12 to 14, 16 to 20 rep ranges. Am I going to keep up with it for the next 6 weeks? I don't know. I'm going to have a think. I personally prefer my own hypertrophy workouts. You know, I sometimes think it's an easy option just to pick something up from the internet, especially when you're trained as a personal trainer. But I like to try new things. I like to try things, and I like to, you know, not talk about them unless I have some personal experience with them. So I've given it a try so far. Yeah, iffy. I'm not 100% sure, but you know, some people will get good results. But I think it's more consistency that will get you the results. So that's that. Thoughts on perceived lack of progress, scales for measurements. Scales are a very difficult one. There's so many contributing factors. The scale tells you your weight. What it doesn't tell you is the amount of water you're holding, the body fat you're holding, the muscle mass you're holding, the weight that your organs are. So it's very limited. It serves as a purpose, I think, for the extremely overweight, that, you know, clearly are obese, clearly are of high body fat. It's a great way, you know, it is a great way to see things, but depending on the time that you do it, so if you do it in the evening after you've eaten all day, if you do it in the morning when you're dehydrated, you're going to get differing readings. So I think it can be very demotivating. It can be it can be motivating if it reads nicely. If it doesn't read nicely, there's not much more demotivating than seeing the numbers not changing or creeping up. So you know, there's a lot better ways in terms of measuring your success really and your progress. Measurements, yeah, they're good. They're good. Sort of the well, just taking circumference, you know, body parts. That's a better way. And also things like getting your body fat professionally done and things. But ultimately, for me, it's the mirror. The mirror doesn't lie. Take regular photos. That's my number one. And also how clothes fit as well. That can be quite a nice one. If you, I mean, with my clients, I often tell them to buy something. You know, buy a nice top or a nice dress. In a smaller size, in the size that you want to get to, and it's a great way to keep trying it on each week, and you know, before too long it will fit. So in terms of perceived lack of progress, my thoughts, you've got to be consistent. People want results and they want them quickly. It's the industry that we're in, that's fine, but ultimately I think people expect miracles too soon. Consistency is key, and being true to yourself as well, being realistic, having realistic goals. Anyone can say, I want to lose 100 pounds in a week. Well, that's a bit OTT, James, but you know what I'm saying. You need to have realistic goals, you need to have smart goals. So, you know, perceived lack of progress, it can be demotivating if you obsess with certain measurements. Just enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride, enjoy the healthy eating, realise the benefits that it's going to be doing, etc. So that's my opinion on that. Your opinions, experience or mental effect on performance and motivations. Yeah, I'm really intrigued actually, William, with your posts, and it's fascinating. I mean, William and I have been working together. I mean, I did a tailored nutritional plan a couple of months ago, and he's having fantastic results. During that time, he actually advised me to read a book, Mind Games. It's all sort of the mentalities of professional athletes and how they tick, and it's something that's really fascinating me. And obviously, I see that you're quite into all that aspect of training and things, WI. So I think it's so important to know how a person ticks. People are different. I saw a post that you said that you find them quite crappy and quite shitty motivational quotes. that's absolutely fine. That's your, that's you. I absolutely love them. I really, really find that they do motivate me, they do inspire me, and I like to think about them deeper than just what it says. I like to try and apply it to me. So I absolutely love motivational quotes, and it's been quite a big part of Fit in 40, quite a big part of the JCFitness Facebook page. So I think it's absolutely essential that you can find your inner motivator, your inner one that really, really gets you up for doing something. You treat yourself, in my opinion, as an athlete. I try and get all my clients to treat themselves as athletes, whether that be through the eating they're doing. You don't have to be an Olympic athlete. You don't have to be a cover model, but having that mentality will really hold you in good stead. I think mental strength is so important, and again, a lot of these challenges have been building on the mental strength aspect. So I think it is so important in performance. I think you need to be able to find your inner strength, and it might take some time. What makes you tick is the question. And yeah, I mean, my performance alters massively if I'm not psyched up for something. Since breaking my leg, obviously football's out the window now, but I used to reach such a mental sort of focus for football, unrivaled to anything before. I'm having to now channel that and apply that to my personal journey, to my own training now, my weight training and stuff. So yeah, my opinion on an experience is that having motivations, having goals, having things to strive for is absolutely key. You've got to know where you are, you've got to know where you want to get to, and building mental strength, in my opinion, is as, if not more, important than physical strength. I'd like to think that both will go hand in hand, but yeah, a lot of people underestimate the importance of having a strong mind. So I'm going to toast that, Will. That was 12 minutes of your questions, and I think you pop up again in a bit. So, yeah, anyway, on to the next one. Janie Munday, carbs, when to have them, what are your thoughts on carb cycling? Carbohydrates are your primary energy source. However, they are the only macronutrient that isn't needed, it isn't essential for the body to run. You need protein, you need fats. Carbohydrates, they're not actually essential. People will, shout at me for saying that. People will, get on their high horses and stuff, but it's been proven they're not essential. But that doesn't mean that they're not important, okay? Without them, a lot of people find energy levels are low and things like that because they are the primary energy source. The more active you are, the likelihood is the more carbohydrates you'll need, depending on body types, depending on body composition. When to have them, it's a very independent, it's a very personal aspect, I find. I think breakfast is an important time. And I think, what I've previously done is sort of had them at breakfast, had them pre-workout, post-workout, and then the rest of the time healthy fats and protein. It depends on the individual, it depends on how you tick, your body type and all things like that. So it's difficult for me to say when to have them. With regards to having them at night, you can. Don't think that you can't. Ultimately, it's like petrol. If you fill up petrol, again, I've done this on a previous video, the whole gun / nozzle. But if you, I've lost my thought now. It's nearly 8 o'clock on Thursday evening, so I'm a little bit tired, and the caffeine's wearing off from my green tea. But anyway, back to the point. Yeah, if with carbohydrates you consume absolutely loads, your body can only store so many. Once it's stored the maximum amount, it overflows. If you've done that early in the day, then obviously later at night, it will be stored. It's an overflow, so it will either be stored as fat or secreted. If you haven't had many carbs earlier in the day, by having them late at night isn't going to suddenly cause overflow. So I hope that makes sense. And when to have them, I'd have them around when you work out. Personally, it's quite a good approach and quite popular. What are your, and obviously they've got to be good sources, you know, don't think pizza and all things like that, sweet potato, brown rice, quinoa, rye bread, things like that. My thoughts on carb cycling. Yeah, I did carb cycling during my second phase of my transformation and had great success. If you want to know more about carbohydrate cycling, I'd recommend Googling it. But yeah, it is quite a proven method to torch body fat. So yeah, it's something that you can consider. So good, right? Chris Vance, what the F was that program Lost actually about, and why did the fat guy never lose any weight? Didn't watch the program, but I do know the fat guy. He didn't lose any weight because he didn't listen to JC. He wasn't part of the JCFitness experience, so never mind. Chris Stopford, if not normal white bread and rye, not easily available, is whole grain okay? Depends on the individual again, really. It's quite a tailored thing. A lot of people are sensitive or intolerant to gluten and wheat, and that's obviously rife in whole grain bread. Now there's fibre, obviously with white bread and things like that. It's been bleached, the content has been removed, the fibre and all things like that. So you know you're eating pretty much just sugar, really. It's very easily digested by the body in terms of sugar. Whole grain is okay, it's got the fibre element, but if you're intolerant or sensitive to wheat and gluten, then you know you'll find that you're puffy. You find that you might suffer from IBS. So gauge it yourself. Really, what I suggest with clients is to you know, remove it from your nutrition plan over a course of a week. Gauge how you feel, then reintroduce it. Do you change? Do you feel rubbish on it? If you do, you're probably intolerant, so get rid of it. But it is okay. It's not bad. It does have some health benefits. So, Joanne, it is so important to eat specifically and so precisely as whey addict William. Oh, is it so important to eat specifically and so precisely, or is just eating very well okay? Depends. I mean, it depends on your goals. It depends. If you're, you know, if you just want to live a healthy lifestyle, a balanced lifestyle, then just eating healthy options and eating within your body's or your calorie boundaries, it's absolutely fine. You don't have to weigh things. You don't have to, you know, write everything down. You can just live a healthy lifestyle, which suits many. But, you know, ultimately, the more precise you are, the more focused you are, the better the results. If your quest is severe body fat reduction, then it will get you only so far. Eating what you like, when you like, sort of thing. Sometimes you do need more structure. So it depends on the individual, depends on what you're looking to achieve, but you can, if you're eating the healthy options, and you have a good understanding of how the different, you know, protein, fats and carbs can affect your body, then yeah, it's absolutely fine to you know, eat very well and nice and healthily. Okay. Pete Rooney, do you solely use rate of perceived exertion with your clients to judge effort, or do you use a heart rate monitor as well? If so, do you set training sessions using heart rate zones? I usually use a heart rate monitor with clients. Now that's not to reach their zones and things like that. I'll discuss the fat burning zone another time, but it's pretty rubbish. If you ask me, that's the whole 65% of your max heart rate, and that's apparently where your body utilises the most fat for energy. Ultimately, we're more worried about overall calories burnt, so the higher intensity, the higher the heart rate, more calories burnt, and the likelihood is more calories will be from the fat stores anyway. So that's that. I love to use both, if I'm honest. The heart can tell you one thing and the person can tell you another, and this is going back to William in terms of mental. Someone's rate of perceived exertion might be a lot less than what they're capable of, and that depends on the individual, that depends on their experiences in the past, and that depends on yeah, the sort of mentality and the type of person, type of person that they are. So I like to use both. What I'll often do is I'll say, rate of perceived exertion 1 to 10, where you at? They'll reply. I'll be like, okay, what does your heart rate monitor say? And if it says, they're at about 50% of their max heart rate, I know we need to work on the mental thing, the mental aspect of their training. Perhaps that they're finding that they've got certain barriers that we need to pass. Maybe a feeling of being, feeling like they're being, the worry of being sick in front of me, the worry of sweating, the worry of not looking a certain way. That's all things that, potentially could be put up against. So I think it's important. I mean, I don't set training sessions using heart rate zones as such. Rather, I like to see their average heart rate and their max heart rate, and then, gauge the session on that alongside the RPE. The more measurements you use, the better, in my opinion. So that's why I like to combine the two, Pete. So yeah, going back to the William and Joanne debate, well, not debate, just, both with their opinions and things. William, yeah, spot on. I'm very similar. I mean, I'm currently using Grenade pre-workout devastation. It adds focus, it gives me the buzz, and it makes me push harder. So I like to use certain products. You don't need any supplements. You do not need absolutely any supplements to get a great physique. And yeah, you've proven that with your comments. So anyone can achieve fantastic results through diet alone. Diet is key. So that's that. Right, Pete Rooney. James, on your JCFitness page, you're talking about different resistance training objectives in terms of weight and reps. Can you explain the benefits of the different ones, as I'm getting a bit confused as to which would suit? Right, we have a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid is what we call muscular endurance. Now, this is how many repetitions a muscle can do before it fatigues. So that's usually in the repetition range of 12 plus, meaning you use a lighter weight. Next up is hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is muscle building, and that's usually between 6 and 12 repetitions per set. Next is strength, which is usually 1 repetition, 1 rep max, or about 5 repetitions. And then finally we go into power, but that's not really one that we consider. If you're new to weight training, it's always recommended that you start in the muscular endurance phase to build a base, to build the foundations, and then once you've hit that, you can build and you can progress into hypertrophy. Once you've done hypertrophy, you can progress into strength. So it goes into that pyramid, okay? Once you've hit one level, you can go to the next. You don't have to go to the next. Many people remain in the muscular endurance, but personally, Pete, for you, I don't know your goals, but it's beneficial to have periods of time to periodise your training, starting in the muscular endurance, then spending maybe 6 weeks in that, going up into the hypertrophy, and spending a bit of time in the strength. You'll benefit massively from going through the different pyramid. So yeah, it depends on your goals. So if you let me know your goals in a bit more detail, then we can discuss things further. William Imrie, JC, a quick question based on Joe's point. What strategies can be used if you aren't going down the supplement route, and in particular what meals could be used to include the whole family while still meeting macronutrient needs? Just a balanced nutritional plan. I mean, you need protein in every meal, in my opinion, and in many opinions. So, protein in every meal. Whatever source that decides to be. You can have carbohydrate, a sweet potato. You can make things like, shepherd's pie with sweet potato mash, mince. It's about being creative, really. So, the whole family can be included by just eating a healthy, balanced nutritional plan. It's quite difficult to sort of be more specific than that. But as long as you're eating healthily, then the whole family can enjoy that, and the difference will be portion sizes. That will differ from one person to obviously your children and things like that. So eat the same things whatever the age, just change the size of the portions. That's my recommendation. Chris Vance, don't know if it's too late, but as you know, I'm on one of your awesome nutrition programs. Well, thank you very much. I was wondering about the whole metabolism thing. How long roughly should you stick to a program, and when should you change? If you are eating clean all the time, then why do you have to change how you eat to fire up your metabolism? You hear people say eat a cheat meal or carb cycle or manipulate weekly calories. I get that this is to kickstart the metabolism, but I would like to know why. If eating right, why do you need to change it up? Cheers. Again, it depends on your goals, and it's also in line with what type of, if you're on a diet, everyone in the world has a setting point, okay? Some people are meant to be bigger than others, some people are meant to be skinny, some are meant to be more muscly. It depends on your body type. Your body is a regulator of this, okay? So it's always trying to regulate. So if you drink too much water, you're going to have to urinate more or sweat more. If you eat too much, you're probably going to be more active. Your body's going to be trying to burn more calories to try and regulate itself. So it's always trying to regulate. If you go too far away from where you're meant to be, in the loosest terms, your body will try all it can to get you back to where you're meant to be, okay? So if you're on a fat loss plan and you've really lost a lot of weight, you'll find that your metabolism slows down. Now this is mainly because you're lighter, so your body doesn't have to carry around as much, and things like that. What will happen when you're down here is your many key hormones will alter, okay? Leptin and ghrelin, they're responsible for sort of hunger and satiety. You'll find that if you're on a low carbohydrate diet for a long period of time, you'll find that cravings increase, things like that, because your body is not shutting down, but it's lowering its requirement to actually have to sort of generate things. So with leptin and ghrelin, you need to reignite them. You need to get them firing again because they've become relaxed and they've become low. To do that, you can do things like a refeed, which is high carbohydrate, moderate protein, low fat, and that can just shock the system. It can get the body sort of moving again. So ultimately, it depends on your goal. If it's just maintaining a healthy diet, healthy nutrition, maintenance, you don't have to do anything. You can just eat, a varied, balanced nutritional plan. If, however, you're fat loss, there might be a time when cravings increase and things like that. At that point, it's a good idea possibly to do a refeed. I'm just reviewing your question again. Yeah, it's just because your body gets very good at knowing what it has to do to, maintain. So when you reach a certain weight, when you've lost a certain amount of weight, you'll stay there if you don't alter things, because obviously your maintenance and your fat burning and fat loss calorie requirement will change. So that's why you need to mix it up. How often you do that? Training plans, I recommend every 6 to 8 weeks. Nutrition, you've got to gauge it. You've got to, when you plateau and things like that, will be a good time to shift it up. Whether that be through weight, whether that be through looking in the mirror. So yeah, gauge it really. And I hope that's helped. I will go into more detail, but it's already been 30 minutes and you're probably sick of watching me now. Right, William Imrie again. This might be a question for a colleague, but what is the best method for a quick... Oh, here we go. Joe, are you here? He's not, I live with Joe, but he's at work at the moment. So we'll get, next week, I promise we'll get, 5 minutes with Joe discussing the adjust, okay? And I'm not going to be demonstrating it. So anyway, that's that. Over 30 minutes. I hope I've answered your questions as well as I could. If you need any, any advice or anything, always, drop it on the Fit in 40 page. And I hope I've answered your question sufficiently. We'll do another one next week. or later this, probably next week with Joe, the adjuster. And yeah, that's it. So keep working hard, keep the questions coming, and until the next time, I take my hat off to you. Fantastic work. Cheers, folks.